Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And man, fall is right here. This is probably one of the best times of the year. Football has started today. This is, started Thursday, but this is the first Sunday of all the NFL games, and I am truly excited. And this is a great time of the year. We're fastly leaving summer. Weather's cooling off a little bit, but you still have some warm days. We're right before coats and winter sweaters and all of that good stuff. And of course, we can watch Sunday football all day for those who like football. But this story I'm giving you today has everything to do with life being a journey and not a destination point, which means no matter the negativities that you go through life, they're not forever. They should be learning tools. And for the positive things that take place, let's say, for example, you win the lottery. Well, that's when your life is beginning into a new direction. It's not the final destination, because guess what? Life changes. There are going to be many people coming after you to try to get your money, which is the same thing that takes place with young folks that get drafted to the NFL, to the NBA, when they have drastic, life-changing financial situations. That's just one example. Let's say you graduate from medical school or law school. Well, you completed one destination point and then a new journey begins. And life is about its longevity. It's not a 100-yard dash. It is a marathon. And this particular case that I'm talking about today has everything to do with a high-profile attorney. And by all outward indications, he had done well his entire life, even married a California housewife, and she was on one of those housewife reality shows. And this lawyer was on the show several times and had won large class action lawsuits. He was the lawyer that was portrayed in the Aaron Brockovich movie that had Julia Roberts as the lead actress, and he's in his 80s. And this again is about life is a journey and not a destination. So you got to run this race until the final gun is fired, or until you cross that line and go into the other side by, of course, dying. But up from the beginning of life to the end of it, it's the journey. And unfortunately, this lawyer's final destination point is going to be prison in his 80s. High profile lawyer. So no matter what he did in his past, the final destination, the final journey is going to be disbarment, possible prison, and character assassination. He lost his license, and his life is in peril. It's moving into chaos and disruption. So here we go. Disbarred celebrity lawyer Tom Girardi found guilty of stealing millions from his clients. Disbarred celebrity attorney out of Los Angeles, Tom Girardi, was convicted on Tuesday of embezzling tens of millions of dollars from his clients, including several with severe physical injuries and families of people killed in accidents. After a 13-day trial and less than a full day of deliberations, the federal jury in Los Angeles found that 85-year-old attorney Girardi guilty on 4 counts of wire fraud. Girardi is the estranged husband of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane, and he appeared on the show as himself dozens of times between 2015 and 2020. He was once among the most prominent lawyers in the nation, often representing victims of major disasters against powerful companies. One lawsuit in particular against California's Pacific Gas and Electric utility led to a $333 million settlement. And he was portrayed in the 2000 movie with Julia Roberts film called Aaron Brockovich, for those who remember that. But his law empire collapsed, and he was disbarred in California in 2022 over client thefts. Former clients who testified against Girardi, including an Arizona woman whose husband was killed in a boat accident, and victims who were burned in a 2010 gas pipe explosion in San Bruno, south of San Francisco. Attorney Tom Girardi built celebrity status and lured in victims by falsely portraying himself as a champion of justice, U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada said in a statement after the verdict. In reality, he was a Robin Hood in reverse. During his trial, defense lawyers sought to blame the thefts on his firm's chief financial officer, Chris Kamen, who is charged separately and has pleaded not guilty. They portrayed Girardi as a mere figurehead in recent years with a valuable name. Prosecutors played jurors voicemails in which Girardi gave a litany of false reasons on why money that a court had awarded could not be paid to the clients, including tax and debt obligations and judge authorizations. He frequently told them, "Don't be mad at me." Girardi's attorney also had argued that he was not competent to stand trial because he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Issues with his memory had led another court to put him on a conservatorship under his brother. But prosecutors contended that Attorney Girardi was exaggerating his symptoms, and a judge ruled that he was competent for trial. Attorney Girardi could get as much as 80 years in prison at his sentencing. Now, he's already 86, which is scheduled for December. A judge has allowed him to remain free until then. Girardi also faces federal wire fraud charges in Chicago, where he is accused of stealing about $3 million from family members of victims of a 2018 Lion air crash that killed 189 people. So this attorney, Tom Girardi, who is well known, I've even heard of him and knew about him. He was also married to a very, very young woman who wanted to be a singer. Supposedly, he's financed over $20 million trying to get her singing career going. And she wanted to be a pop star, which never happened, and it fizzled. There have been allegations that he was stealing a lot of this money to maintain a lifestyle with his young wife in Los Angeles. Of course, we all know Los Angeles is one of the most expensive cities in the country, and everything is show and tell out in LA. It is the hubris of fake it till you make it. But this gentleman made a lot of money, but I guess that was not enough. And I think this is a cautionary tale of no matter how old you are, there are many people who become slaves to things versus having a positive spirituality, understanding that life is a learning journey. Life is not about destination points. It's about evolution and learning throughout the entire journey. He became a slave to things. And we see this every day with folks in all of our cities, as opposed to living a life that is based on what you can do for not only yourself, but what you can do for others. And him having a law license, being a lawyer, he was supposed to be in a position of helping people, no different than a physician, helping and healing. Lawyers and doctors are in positions where people are putting their lives and their future in these professionals' hands. And there are many people that give an outward appearance of being a upstanding person, but their inward appearance could be they might possibly be a wolf. The other part of this story that I want my listeners to know is in these big class action lawsuits, you see advertisements with lawyers all over the television, social media, and when they tell you that there's no money down, you don't have to pay anything up front for the lawyer in a trucking accident, in a class action lawsuit, the money will be recovered after the case is won. So if they lose it, you don't have to pay anything. But what people don't know, there is a certain level, there is a certain web involved in that. Anytime that you're involved in any kind of business relationship, whether it's with lawyers or anybody else, and anybody tells you don't have to put any money down, even buying a car, and you realize a year or two later that the car dealership messed you over. Well, same thing happens with the lawyers. They'll say no money down, no upfront deposit. When we win the case, we will get 25%. But what you fail to realize is once you take that law firm on to represent you, that clock is ticking. You're being charged for everything. So it's 25% after your expenses. It's just like a record company deal. So if it's $100 million verdict that you get, so you think you will pay $25 million to the lawyers, or they will get 25 million. That's not how it happens. They're going to get 25 million plus expenses. And those expenses and the power of the pen that you're not keeping an accounting of, but they are supposedly, it will fastly eat up the 75 million that you think you're going to get. You're not getting 75 million. And this case clearly shows that there are tons of egregious, greedy attorneys out here, and picking the right one to represent you and your family makes all the difference in the world. So proper vetting of who you're going to have represent you is no different than proper vetting for who you are going to allow to do surgery on you as a doctor. It's the same kind of thing. Your wealth and your health is in the hands of this other human being. Yes, they have a professional license. We're thinking that they're all upstanding, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes stress, anxiety, life circumstances, greed, living above your means, keeping up with the Joneses, wanting money by any means necessary. It can happen to anyone, and it happens to our professional people all the time. And lawyers have had a bad light placed on them for some of these egregious behaviors. This is unfortunate that this lawyer, 86 years old, at the end of his life, is going to end up in prison and could possibly do 80 years for embezzlement and fraud. He probably won't do 80 years, but he will probably do prison time. He's been disbarred. He's got health issues, and this is one hell of a way to end your storyline on how you lived your life, and for it to end with disbarment, convictions, and possible jail time. This lawyer probably will end up dying in jail. So all the supposed good things that he did in the past, whether he has children, the legacy that he's leaving behind, this has made national news, social media, and it's unfortunate that his final destination, his final place in his journey, is going to be filled with a caveat of him being a corrupt attorney and taking advantage of helpless folks that needed his help. Tell me what you think on this case with Tom Girardi, the famous attorney out of LA. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.